What I want to do before I start my vehicle is I want to perform a safe start. I want to make sure that my transmission is in neutral. I want to make sure my parking brakes are applied. I want to make sure that the accelerator is not sticking, and I have no more than 2 inches of free play on my clutch. As I start my engine, again, I'm listening for any unusual noises. Okay, before I begin my Coolant air brakes test, I want to pump my air pressure down to approximately 90 psi or below. Okay, so I'm below 90 psi. The first test I'm going to perform is my governor cut out test. I'm going to increase my RPMs to approximately 1500. My governor should cut out no higher than 130 psi. Okay, my needles have stopped rising, which means my governor has cut out. My primary is at 120, secondary is at 121. Okay, it did not go higher than 130 psi. My next test is my governor cut-in test. I'm going to release 5 to 10 pounds of air pressure, wait 15 seconds for my governor to cut in. It should cut in no less than 100 psi. 15 seconds starts now. Okay, 50 seconds are up. My needles have not moved, so I'm going to repeat the process. My needles have started to rise, which means my governor has cut in. My primary was at 100, secondary was at 104. It did not drop less than 100 psi. So now I'm going to build my air pressure back to maximum. Okay, I'm at maximum air pressure. I'm going to secure my vehicle by placing the transmission in first gear. Shut my engine off. Okay, I want to leave the key in the on position. I'm going to release my parking brake and my trailer brake. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and do my 460 apply test. I'm checking for leaks in the system. So I'm going to apply moderate pressure to my brake pedal. I'm going to wait for 60 seconds. I should not lose more than 4 psi in those 60 seconds. Again, this is my 460 apply test. So I'm going to apply pressure to the brake pedal. I'm going to give a reading. My primary is at 101. Secondary is at 109. My 60 seconds starts now. So when you're at the DMV, make sure you take a watch that has a second hand, or they'll allow you to use your cell phone as a stopwatch. Okay, so let's say for recording purposes, we're going to say we're at 55, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 60 seconds. My 60 seconds are up. My primary still reads at 101, and my secondary reads at 109. I did not lose any air pressure in those 60 seconds. Okay, there's no leaks in the system. So I'm going to release my brake pedal. The next test I'm going to perform is my low air warning test. Okay. I had the key in the on position, but I'm going to turn it back on. I shut it off. Now I'm going to turn the key into the on position so that I can hear my low air warning alarm come on. Okay, that you hear there is an oil and water light. So now I'm going to go ahead and fan the brake pedal. My low air warning alarm should come on between 55 and 75 psi. So now I'm going to go ahead and pump the brake pedal. Okay, there's my brake pressure light, and now I hear the alarm for the brake pressure. My primary is at 66 psi, and my secondary is at 70 psi. The alarm came on between 55 and 75 psi. The last portion of my test is my pop-out test. I'm going to continue to fan the brake pedal until my parking valves pop out. They should pop out between 20 and 45 psi. This test, I'm checking the spring brakes or emergency brakes. So I'm going to go ahead and fan the brake pedal now, and I'm watching for my valves to see when they pop out. Okay, my braking valves, my parking valves have popped out. My primary is at 30 psi, secondary is at 32 psi. My brakes popped out between 20 and 45 psi. This concludes my Coolant air brakes test. So I'm going to secure the vehicle by placing the transmission in neutral. Then I'm going to go ahead and start my vehicle and build my air pressure back up to maximum. As I'm building my air pressure back up, I'm going to wait for the alarm to shut off, and then I'll go ahead and proceed with my in-cab inspection. Okay, so as my air pressure is continuing to build up, I'm going to do my in-cab inspection. I want to check my windshield to make sure that there's no cracks longer than 2 inches. Make sure the windshield's always clean. There's no illegal stickers. The rubber seal is not cut or cracked. I always want to check to make sure there's no leaks inside the cab. I want to check my windshield wipers. Make sure the windshield wipers are not bent, they're not cracked. Make sure that the blades are not cut, cracked, or torn, and they make firm contact with the window. I also want to make sure I have plenty of washer fluid as well. Okay, washer fluid. Okay, from there I want to check my mirrors to make sure that the mirrors are always adjusted to the driver. The glass is not cracked, and the glass is always clean. I'm going to come down and check my city horn and my country horn. From there, I want to make sure that my headlights are working. Make sure my high beams are working. My left indicator, right indicator, and my four-way flashers, in case of an emergency, are working. I want to make sure my seat belt is not torn. It securely latches and it adjusts to the driver. Okay? I want to check my coolant temperature. My coolant temperature should read between 170 and 195 during normal operation. My oil pressure should be between 30 and 75. My voltmeter should be between 12 and 14 or in the green. My air gauges should never exceed 130 and they should never drop below 100 psi. My heater defroster, I want to make sure that it is working at all times. I want to check my emergency equipment. I should have 3 reflective triangles. They should not be cracked or broken. They should have a firm base. My fire extinguisher should be fully charged, up to date, and it should be properly rated. I should always have spare fuses in my vehicle at all times. this concludes my in-cab inspection. I'm going to go ahead and do my tuck test now. Put the transmission back in low gear. I'm going to check my parking brake to see if it's holding. So I'm going to release my trailer. Release my clutch. Parking brake is holding. I'm going to reapply the trailer, release the parking brake. Now I'm going to test to see if my trailer brake is holding. The trailer brake is holding. So I'm going to reapply my parking brake. Put the transmission back in neutral. To test my service brake, I would roll forward at 5 miles an hour, apply moderate pressure to the brake pedal. Release the steering wheel. If my vehicle pulls to the left or to the right, my brakes could be out of adjustment. Okay, so I'll show you how that's done. Okay, vehicle did not pull to the left or to the right. My brakes are good.